Hello everyone, my name is Jose Angel Rubio, and the topic for my thesis this semester was the effects on the United States denim textile industry due to offshoring labor overseas. Now, as an approach to global competition, many companies have opted to offshore jobs in order to save on production costs and increase their profits. Offshoring reduces operating costs, which ensures that businesses in the United States can remain competitive worldwide. Offshoring provides advantages and disadvantages for U.S. denim textile companies. Those companies that participate in offshoring can get their products made at lower cost, which means that they can sell those products at lower prices and still be able to make profits. The companies that do not participate in offshoring have to compete with their competitors' lower prices. In order to be able to compete, the non-participating companies have to find alternative methods to reduce production costs. This can be done through using more machines, automated machines, and fewer employees, restructuring the organization, downsizing, or buying cheaper materials to make their products. Now, some companies are unable to compete in the denim market after applying these methods may be forced to go out of business and lay off their employees. Many denim mills have closed their doors permanently in the last 20 years because they were no longer able to compete with these lower priced products being made in other countries. American Cotton Growers, which was based out of Littlefield, Texas, was one of the many denim mill plants that had to reorganize its production structure in order to try and compete in a market in which other producers were offshoring production jobs. Eventually, after years of restructuring, downsizing, and layoffs, the plant had to close its doors and go out of business, leaving hundreds of employees without jobs, including myself. When I began working for American Cotton Growers, I told myself that this was a place where I was going to make my career until the time came that I had to retire. I had heard of the concept of offshoring, but I never really paid attention to it until I became a supervisor at the plant. We were called into a meeting where we were told that the company would have to downsize due to the rough times that we were having in the market. It was difficult to hear because there was a bunch of people there that I had made friends with, had family there working, but some of the employees were able to hold onto their jobs in the company, but they were demoted and moved to their previous jobs because of internal job shifting and seniority. A couple of years later, there was another downsizing of the workforce, and then eventually at the end of 2014, it was announced that American Cotton Growers would be going out of business. The largest employer in Lamb County was shutting its doors for good, and many people were going to be left unemployed. ACG is just one of the examples out of many denim mills that were forced to shut down because we could not compete with the companies that were offshoring part or all of their production overseas. Now, what would happen to the 600 plus workers that ACG once employed? Where would they find jobs? With a handful of denim mills left in the U.S., employees would have to travel across the nation to work in a denim mill again. What kind of assistance could these workers receive or get retrained in other technical fields in order to find new employment? What will happen to the community of Littlefield once everybody starts leaving, selling their homes? These are all things that affect several disciplines, but I chose to focus on business, economics, and organizational leadership. The issue of offshoring jobs is a complex situation that has an impact on many different people and businesses as well as the U.S. economy. An interdisciplinary research approach is necessary to address this issue because it is complex and it will require the perspectives from different disciplines. According to Repco, the problem or question is complex when it is composed of multiple components or agents connected through nonlinear as well as linear relationships. Research is needed to examine how the employees, society, manufacturers, and economy are impacted. Once again, what would happen to the employees that were laid off? Where would they go? Will they be able to find any jobs? Once they leave, how is it going to affect the economy, the schools, and the community and culture here in Littlefield? Now, I'm sorry, offshoring is when a company outsources some of its processes or services overseas in order to take advantage of lower costs. It is done to take advantage of labor arbitrage. Other countries pay their workers less money to do the same jobs as employees do in the U.S. The topic of offshoring has been met with some debate. Some believe that offshoring is a threat and others believe that it is a comparative advantage. When companies outsource jobs to other countries, that means jobs that would be here in the States are lost, therefore hurting the economy. On the other hand, by paying workers less money in other countries to do the same job as was done in the U.S., companies save money and are able to raise their profits. According to Dervasula and Lisinski, supporters of offshoring explain in the media that the process is a natural one where less profitable industries disappear from the American economy while new ones with better paying jobs take their place. This means when a company goes out of business because of offshoring, a financially stronger company will come in to take its place and will offer better paying jobs. After ACG went out of business, the plant was bought by a dairy company named Continental Dairy Products. It is restructuring the facility into a dry dairy processing plant, which will potentially open up for business in the summer of 2018. Now, the company's president announced that the company will be bringing in its own crew to operate the dairy, but will offer jobs of about 100 to 110 jobs to the surrounding residents. This also brings us to what Darusala and Lisinski was studying in their research about how Americans felt about offshoring and the perceptions on outsourcing in other countries overseas. Their study was to determine if psychological tendencies of consumers such as ethnocentrism, cultural openness, animosity, and patriotism played a role in influencing attitudes towards offshoring. They also investigated the concerns about the threat that foreign competitors pose to the consumers and the economy. Data was collected in the Midwest U.S. from young adults who had exposures to business education. And the results of the study were that as these young professionals tended to rate higher on the Likert type scales on ethnocentrism, animosity, and patriotism, the subjects were more opposed to offshoring. The New York Times also did a survey in January 2013 where they found that 68% of their survey takers preferred products made in the United States, even if they cost more, and 63% believed that they were of better quality. Gilcert found that since the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, was introduced, more than 3 million jobs had been lost in America. Between March 2001 and to January 2004, Wisconsin alone lost over 74,000 manufacturing jobs, a decline of 14% in its manufacturing base. American workers who lose their jobs because of offshoring are often retrained only to find out that their new jobs are also being offshored to countries like China and India. When American cotton growers in Littlefield went out of business, its employees were given a chance to retrain in other trades such as electricians, mechanics, nurses, and other technical disciplines. I myself got the opportunity to return to Texas Tech to finish getting a college degree. Now, many of my former co-workers had spent 10 to 25 years working in that plant and in the denim textile industry, and now have had to start new jobs at the bottom of the ladder with less pay than they were making. According to Sheets 2004, a survey of 216 top-level U.S. executives conducted by McKinsey Global Institute found out that 31% of displaced workers due to offshoring were not fully reemployed. 55% were working at 85% of their former wages, and 25% took pay cuts of 30% or more. Now, American Apparel is the largest apparel manufacturer in the U.S. and is also competing with companies who are offshoring their productions to other countries. According to Hayward, American Apparel is closing the most inefficient of its 240 locations and reducing its workforce in order to stay in business. Parkdale Mills is one of the denim textile mills still operating in the U.S. today and has survived the effects of offshoring. Now, they have been able to do this and keep operating and keep competing in the textile market, but they have implemented more automated machinery to do the work that humans would normally do. According to Clifford in 2013, the mill here produces 2.5 million pounds of yarn a week with about 140 workers. In 1980, that production level would have required more than 2,000 people. Now, in conclusion, there are pros and cons to offshoring overseas. When you look at it as far as political science, political leaders that regulate NAFTA and SAFTA may need to take a closer look at the agreements and how they ultimately affect the businesses in the U.S. Tariffs may need to be reestablished in order to lower the amount of products that other countries can export into the United States. Offshoring allows third world countries to create jobs for their citizens, which is good, but at the same time it does eliminate much needed jobs in the U.S. Further research may be done in regulating and allowing companies to offshore, but only a percentage. This way, not all jobs are lost, and we can still maintain experienced workers who can perform the same actions elsewhere. Another regulation could be that a certain percentage of profits from businesses prospering in offshoring would be obligated to the laid off employees. From a business perspective, offshoring may be a lucrative operating method to increase a company's competitive edge in the denim textile market. Offshoring reduces production costs for an organization, creates new jobs in third world countries, and allows companies to sell products at lower cost and still make profits. On the other hand, offshoring also eliminates jobs in the U.S. by transferring them to other countries. Economically, offshoring allows companies to offer lower priced merchandise, which draws in more customers who want to buy more items at a cheaper price. This increases profits and allows a company to open up even more stores in other cities throughout the U.S., which is good. By offering these low prices, the company draws customers away from other stores who cannot afford to sell their products any cheaper than they do because they have to cover their production costs. These companies then either have to downsize, restructure, reduce their labor force, or even go out of business, which then leads to a rise in unemployment. Globalization has opened up opportunities for Americans businesses to downsize and offshore functions around the world. CEOs have taken those opportunities in order to lower their taxes, limit their liabilities, and lighten their regulatory overloads. Agreements such as NAFTA and SAFTA have allowed American businesses to offshore functions of their production operations. While it has created profits for some businesses, it also has led to the elimination of thousands of jobs for other businesses. Leaders may need to implement stricter laws, regulations, and higher tariffs to reduce the overall profits of companies participating in offshoring. Thank you.